a background of our decision-making process. A little bit of background to start off with. Our scheme is significantly the default scheme with one significant difference is we have a 15% minimum contribution. That was introduced in April 2013, has remained unchanged since. And when I say unchanged, I do mean unchanged. We have not uprated applicable amounts. We've made no adjustments to the scheme whatsoever over the last 3-4 years. So it came to us a situation where, and Paul alluded to it earlier, about the increasing costs of the scheme to the council in comparison to the funding that we've received. And just to give you some idea, indication what that means, if we look only at the RSG funding that Hackney's received, if in effect our scheme costs us at this particular moment in time £25.5 million, and we receive funding from the RSG of 8.6, so that's a £16.9 million shortfall that we're having to fund from local government resources. And again, in the context overall, and again, this is something that all local authorities are obviously facing. Over the last few years, with a significant number of cuts, we have had cuts totaling to the council of £110 million. And another £29 million to be found by 2019. So in light of all that particular background noise, it's become increasingly clear that there was going to be a need to review and revisit our council tax benefit scheme, reduction scheme. But there was also going to be a need, obviously, because the other significant driver in this instance is the introduction of universal credit. Now, Hackney is lucky in that it's one of the last. Lucky, I suppose, is the right term, yes, in that it is one of the last local authorities to go over to universal credit. We're not actually scheduled to go live for UC until June 2018. In that case, and that's given us an opportunity, to examine what's been going on those local authorities which have already gone live and the potential impact. But it's also given us a certain amount of breathing room, which has been particularly useful. Now, when I say that we haven't changed the scheme, that's not without the want of trying. Over the last 3 years, we have been asked by members who have had an eye on the increasing cost to the council or the schemes to review the scheme and asked us to have a look at what's going on. And at each and every case, there have been a number of hiccups and problems which have meant that we've never been able to effectively follow through on that particular request, either because the modelling that we've undertaken hasn't produced, we've not been confident in the information that we've been able to extract from our systems, or where we have had more confidence in the modelling that we've undertaken, there has been an external factor which has actually meant that we have run out of time to significantly, to think about significantly radically changing the council tax benefit scheme and going out to consultation. As you will be familiar with the best laid plans of mice and men. They tend to, we're on the vine in our case. In the last 3 years, we've obviously had a general election, a separate mayoral election, and a number of instances which have actually come out of left field and interrupted our carefully laid plans and timetables. Getting back to, having decided that last year in fact, that this year was kind of had to be the time that we make a change because of the upcoming introduction of universal credit. We then discussed how we best would do that. And again, it was decided at that early stage, that we would want to engage an external consultant in assistance with the process. And that's really for 3 reasons. First of all, I mentioned that confidence in our own expertise and our own modelling. To a certain extent, the churn in officers, and certainly officers with specialists in these sort of analytical circumstances, has meant that we don't have the depth of knowledge that we once had. And therefore, it was agreed that actually, if we wanted to be absolutely and totally confident in the modelling that was going to be done, we'd like an external consultant to do that, at least to verify and back up our early conclusions. Secondly, obviously with the UC rollout, we wanted to take advantage that we could learn from what was happening in other local authorities, and the best way to get that will be the consultant to examine what's going on in local authorities and make a recommendation on how we adjust that accordingly. And the third, and probably the most relevant for us in Hackney, was the question of member confidence. Now, again, I mentioned that this is not the first time we've visited the changes to a council tax benefit scheme. I can tell you that in effect, the problem is not so much that members aren't keen on changes, they're just not keen on the same change. We have a significant situation where over the course of the last 2 sessions, we've been asked in various stages to model 38 different versions of a council tax benefit scheme, because members are looking to make adjustments in respect to the external circumstances and external drivers. For us, the key at the moment has always been, and there always has been, from an office perspective, is what the lead members have been driving for, and that, as I meant, from the outset in this case, has been looking to redress the balance between the cost of the scheme and the funding that we receive. So effectively, we're going to have to try and bring down the cost of the scheme for Hackney in order to, get some sort of redress and to recognise that there has been a significant cut in funding. Now, we asked Policy and Practice to come in and engage with us on that, and not only were they able to, we initially asked them to undertake 4 modelling scenarios, which ranged from an increase in the contribution from 17% right up to 25%. That was initially our initial request for them. Having done that, we put that to members, and there was certainly to lead members. And again, even then, under those circumstances, despite the confidence of having an external provider, producing those figures for them, they still were after some additional information. So we asked Policy Practice to do another 5 models, ended up 9 in all. And again, after some to and fro and some discussions, we finally settled on a scheme which has looking to increase the contribution from 15 to 20%. It brings what it also does is bring all the applicable amounts and other changes in the scheme up to date. So effectively, it now reflects local costs and up-to-date costs. And finally, it now changes from a situation where a universal credit scheme or universal credit is now counted as an income, and I won't go into the details of what that actually means in terms of the assessment process, but effectively, those modelling, that modelling has been particularly useful for us in trying to explain to members the impact, which brings me on to the next point I really wanted to make about impact. Well, again, when we say we lacked confidence in our modelling, it wasn't that we lacked confidence in the ability to crunch numbers and come up with the big figures. The issue is that you can talk strategically to members and say the scheme will now cost us, a saving of, we'll be able to generate a saving of 2.1, 2.4, whatever million pounds. The question that always comes back is, well, what does that mean to the applicants? What does that mean to those in receipt of benefit? If I give you a particular scenario, what it is? And that's much more difficult actually to demonstrate on a wider scale, because it actually encompasses a much wider remit than just what is the change to the council tax benefit limit. And what we get from Policy and Practice, or have from this modelling, is a certain amount of confidence that they've been able to introduce or they've been able to reflect in their modelling external variables, which helps us actually impart that communication. And that really largely is what I wanted to sort of get over. I just wondered if there's any questions or anybody's got any information or any